I'm nervous. Are you nervous?
No.
Are you nervous now that I've told you that I'm nervous?
Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Intuition Co podcast. I am your host Georgia and I am here today with my beautiful friend Sez, who you probably know. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen Sez's face before, and some of you may remember the Inspire project. Little Snooky Snook. I'm so grateful to have you here today and to have Sarah here for today's episode. I thought, being the second episode, who better to bring onto the podcast than my bestie Sez. That's just a ball of good energy, and you always bring the good vibes, and you're exactly what this whole podcast is about. And I just thought it's very fitting to have you in the second episode.
Slay.
Let me find my notes. So today's podcast is all about friendships, mental health, healing, that kind of vibe. I feel like mental health and just well-being in general is very important to both of us. So I thought that was a very fitting topic for today. So first of all, I thought we'd start off with introducing Sez, because a lot of you probably know me a little bit too much. And yeah, I thought we'd start the podcast by introducing yourself. Who are you? Who is Sez? What are you about? Let us know.
Alrighty, let's go. Hello, everybody.
Why did you pick?
I'm scared. This is a scary bit of equipment we've got over here. Alright, so firstly...
Sorry, I just need to cover myself.
Alrighty, firstly I'd like to apologise for my voice. I am getting over being sick, so I hope the next episode, if I film another episode, that I don't sound like a crazy man, but here we go. So who am I? Who's Sarah? So I am an F45 studio owner, and wow, that's me, apparently. That's it.
That's all you need to know.
That is it. So I am an F45 studio owner. I am also a qualified nurse. I was working in nursing before I got into the health and fitness industry. I've always been in health and fitness since forever. Like, always played sports, always did dance, always went to the gym, like, since I can remember, kind of thing. So health and fitness is definitely my forte in that aspect. I've grown a lot in the health and fitness space from when I first started to now. I wish I knew everything I knew now that I knew when I started, but yeah. I guess that's not the point of having a journey, is
exactly.
it? That's not the point of growth. So yeah, I've definitely come a long way in that industry. What got me to being like a switching career path so hectic from nursing to being an F45 studio owner, so I can't believe I'm saying that.
That's wild.
Insane. Was that I just wanted something that filled my cup up. So when I was nursing, I was working in oncology, which is cancer. And my dad had cancer at the time as well. So it was just like, and all through COVID, I was super, super burnt out. Yeah, it was just like, this isn't for me, which was kind of hard to take in at first. I was like, oh my God, I've been nursing since I was in grade 10 at school, doing my assistant in nursing. So it was like, oh my God, this isn't for me. Like, what am I going to do with my life, having like a bloody mini life crisis over it? And then I was looking for something that, you know, sort of filled my cup up a little bit too. Like, I loved my nursing, loved my clinical skills, and then was like, no, I need something that, you know, does something for me as well. So I got into being an F45 and FSA coach on the side. So that was like super casual. Like, I was literally doing like 1 or 2 sessions a week. And then within a space of like a month, I got into FSA full time, being the studio manager. So it was like from one to the other so quickly, and it just worked out like so seamlessly. But I remember at the time I was like, I just want this so bad. Like, I want this so bad, and it's never going to happen for me. Like, I'm just going to have to do nursing like the old badger nurses that are on my ward for like 40 years. Like, I'm just going to have to be miserable, whatever. But that's kind of, and then from FSA, that led on, and then now, I own my own studio. So that's
epic.
Me. Yeah.
And such a transformation too, I reckon, seeing you especially like out of school, like all the growth and how you have gotten to like where you are today. I think that's an epic journey in itself.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on the podcast, because I think that transformation is so empowering and will be so empowering to so many people. Like, yeah, I think that's epic what you've done and the way that you've kind of rerouted your life and created what you have now. I think it's also important to address how we know each other. For those that don't know,
they're like, who just
who is this?
I don't actually. I haven't met Georgia until today.
I'm just like put on Facebook. Does anyone want to put
on my podcast? Facebook Marketplace.
Podcast talk show buddy. No, well, we did meet each other in high school. We've been friends since grade 10. Is that when you moved? Grade 10? Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know the story,
she's a story.
Here's a story for you. We went to the same high school. Sarah moved in grade 10. It just so happened that she was put in my maths class, and I think I was the only one with a spare desk beside me too. Like I sat by myself, and like I remember actually the day that you came in, like I still remember it. And I remember thinking like I love sitting by myself because it was like I had no one to like annoy me.
No, I'm so sorry.
I just remember being like, you know, there's nobody in this maths class that I would like having sit beside me. I'm so glad I'm here on my own. And then I remember we found out we had like a new girl coming to our class, and I was like, damn, she's gonna have to sit beside me. My first seat's going, and I remember our maths teacher being like, okay, the new girl's gonna have to sit there, Georgia, like, is that okay? And I was like, oh.
Like, it's fine.
So dramatic. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't even care.
I don't even care.
And then, I literally remember the day that you like came in and like you were settling in, and that you got put, like we were already in our maths class and you came in, and yeah, Sarah got seated beside me, and the friendly girl that I am, I was like, hi, how are you? Why are you here? Yeah, I remember you were like a little bit confused.
No, this school, right, guys, is so has the most confusing timetable I've ever. I was like, that's why I was like half late, because I had no idea. I was like, it was like maths class, so you know how like usually like your timetable would be like MAT for maths or like whatever. Yeah. It was like ZXW. I was like, what the freaking hell does that mean? Like, how am I supposed to? And there's no like little guide to like what they mean. So I was like, I don't know.
Actually, that's to be fair, on my first day of grade 8, I remember they like printed everyone out like that timetable thing, and the rooms were all so weird. Like it wasn't obvious where your class was.
I literally had to have someone like write down on my freaking timetable like what class it was and where it was. Because I was like,
how am I supposed to know?
What language is this?
It's so funny that I still remember that day. But yeah,
the worst day of your life.
My free table beside me is gone. And I remember just like talking to you, and I was like, oh, okay, like where have you come from? And you were like, oh, like, you know, up north. And I was like, cool. And then and I was like, oh, you must be like really smart. And you were like, you looked at me so confused. You were like, why would you assume that?
I was like, that's a really strange thing to say. Like, you must be so smart. I was like, I know this is like a fancy school, but like, huh?
You like, I just remember you looked at me so blankly, and I was like, this is like the top maths class. Like, you must have been really good at maths at your old school, and you were just like,
no. Like, guys, I am hopeless at maths. But forever, I can't math. It's too, no. I can do like normal people maths, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not, you know, silly goose, but I was like, excuse me, what?
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, is this like the top of like the grade maths class? And I was like, but it's called challenged maths. That was literally the name of the class. I was like, it's called challenged maths. Like, I thought it was the like, you know.
People struggling.
Yeah, who are not good at maths like me.
I still don't know why they put you in there. Like, no offense.
Like, I didn't do terribly at my old school. Like, I had, like, good grades. So they must have been like, oh, she got an A in a state school, so she can go straight to challenged maths at this
school.
Fancy school. You guys are, like, 10 steps ahead. Like, like, if you've ever changed from, like, a public school to a private school, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, they're, like, 2 years ahead of what, like, you're supposed to be. Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And then I remember, like, I was like, so what? And I like literally having a panic moment because I'm like, oh my God, like,
what have I gotten myself into?
Honestly, and I was like, I'm gonna have to go to the office and be like, I need to go in the dumb maths because I can't be in the challenge maths with this top, the top 5% of the grade or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh my God, the anxiety that came over me, and I had to stay in that class for an entire term.
And then did they let you move?
And then they let me move.
Yeah, because I was gonna say you were there for a while, and I remember like. And like, because we became friends pretty quickly, like we just got along, and like I guess I had to help.
No, God, Georgia literally, I was like, Georgia would be freaking writing in her book, and I'm like trying to sneaky look over, but really I'm like, and you're like, do you want a copy? I was like, yes. I literally copied your entire assignment. Yeah. Like, you gave me your assignment, and you were just like, yeah, but don't make it obvious. And then I was like so upset because I still got a shitty grade, and I literally copied the entire assignment, but I think they knew.
I'm pretty sure that our maths teacher like pulled me aside one day. Like, I vaguely remember that, and she was like, "Did you give up your assignment?" I was like, not sure how to answer this question. I was like, oh, no. And she was like, well, we've seen in other students it's very similar to yours. And like, she's like, I read it and I knew it was yours. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know how that happened. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, guys. Legit. And it was like the morning of.
Yeah.
We were handing the assignment, and I was like, the assignment. I was like, I haven't done it, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what you gave me so much anxiety. Oh, bless.
I was not a scholar in the maths department, that's for sure.
That's such a laugh. But here we are, and it's really raining outside now.
Oh, rude. Today's weather.
This weather is very choppy changey.
I can't.
I don't know whether to wear a jumper or to like get out in a singlet. Like,
honestly,
do you know what I mean?
It's hot, it's cold. Am I happy because it's sunny, or am I sad because it's raining? Like, what am I basing my mood on today?
I'm not really sure. But yeah, I think it's funny too because we were friendly in school and we talked to each other, but like we weren't like in the same friendship group. Like, no. And I feel like I was a floater. Like I had a group of friends, but like I was kind of friends with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like, so I feel like, I don't know, some people assume that because we were friends in high school. I think that's really interesting that we we talked to each other. We were in a lot of the same classes, but it was after school. We were like, oh, like,
they're friends.
Oh, I like this girl. Like, why were we not friends earlier? You know what I mean?
Literally.
But I think that's just a testament to the high school experience because that was a lot in itself.
Mm-hmm. Like, if there's anybody who's listening, potentially, who I went to school with, I'm sorry, but you don't know who I am. Like,
you haven't met this girl.
You haven't met me before.
No.
Like, hi, nice to meet you. I'll introduce myself.
Yeah.
Because I really struggled in high school, and I don't know if it was a mix of like going to a new school halfway through high school, like grade 8, grade 9, like I really enjoyed. But as soon as I moved to this new school, I was a boarder, so it was like I was away from home.
Yeah.
It was just like such a huge change, and I honestly thought boarding school was going to be like Wild Child.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It is not. It is not like Wild Child. It is terrible. Some people have a great experience, but for me personally, it was literally the worst time of my entire life.
Yeah.
And like even going on like a fair few years now, that period of those 3 years was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I did not have a good high school experience whatsoever.
Did you enjoy high school before you moved? Like I don't really know much about your high school experience before you
I had a really good group of friends. Like, the girls I was friends with were amazing. I had a boyfriend, so I was like, I don't want to go. And I was I didn't do well. Like, I did well on the subjects I was interested in, but I was kind of like, whatever, don't really care. It is like, I'm just here to run amok. And that's not why I got sent to boarding school.
Because you were running amok.
Yeah, no. My parents both worked 12-hour shifts, and then I was into sport, into dance and things like that, so I got sent there so I could do sport and that. And then, you know, I had someone to like cook dinner and look after me and my brothers and stuff. So that's why I went to boarding school. But I did enjoy it because I think I had a really good group of friends, and I found that when I moved, I didn't get that really good group of friends. Like, I had a few friends, and like some people I'm still really good friends with now, but I never had that, like, you know, that group that you just slide into and it's like, okay, I'm a part of a group. It was like I was, and then it was like I was the outsider of the group. And that is like the worst feeling. Like, when 100%. You're a part of like even like a trio or like a foursome friendship foursome. Or like when you're a part of a group and they're all so close, and you're just not like in it, like that's really hard.
You're not on the inner.
And it's just kind of like, okay, cool, like I'll just go yeet myself over here, like all good. So it wasn't until grade 12, I'd say, I found like a group that I really gelled with really well. And then I had 2 girls in the boarding house that were friends with me, like in school as well, not just in the boarding house when they wanted to be friends with me. So that was really good. So that was helpful. But yeah, I think that's where I really struggled a lot with mental health was in those high school years. Like, I remember one day I walked out of a maths class or a history class or something. I walked out, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like that was my first ever panic attack.
Wow.
And it was like, I walked out of the class, like halfway through the class, I'm having a panic attack. And then they sent me to the school psychologist. And I literally just blurted everything out to the school psychologist. I'm like, oh, like, it's the school psychologist. Like, you know, helpful. To then go back to the boarding house that afternoon and find that the school psychologist had told the boarding mistress absolutely every little detail of everything that I told her.
Oh my God.
And it wasn't like, you know, I was endangering myself, like I was gonna, you know, like something urgent that she had to tell. But it was very much like, oh, we'll just tell everyone. And it was like the boarding mistress and like the head of our grade as well. So I was like,
lovely. Thank you so much.
Cool. Like, yeah, it's just really having that confidence exposed. Didn't help. And then when they tried to help me further, like sending me to like, you know, a GP and things like that, I was like, nah, not doing it. No, I'm fine. And I think that's where I really grew that, like, do better, be better, like, I'm fine, no one can know, just keep going. Kind of like tough bitch mentality. And I think that's what I put forward a lot when I was at school too, like that very much like, don't fuck with me, don't like, I was very angry. Very, very angry person in high school. I would go to the gym at lunch. I, you know, developed a lot of issues with eating. It was just straight up not a good time.
And I think, like, I remember you always seemed like you were in your zone. Like, you were almost like in a bit of a bubble. And like, I remember sometimes, I think we've talked about this, but like, you used to be like so, like, you know, like your blinkers on kind of thing. But I remember like, there was, when we weren't in the same maths class or like we didn't see each other as often, like occasionally like I'd walk past and like say hi and you wouldn't say hi back and like, oh my God, no, like no offense taken at all, like, but just like, it goes to show you really don't know what's going on in someone else's life kind of thing. Like, I obviously like didn't talk to you, I didn't know what was going on, but like to someone else I'm like, oh, like what have I done? Maybe I did something wrong, or maybe they're mad at me or whatever. And it's like, give people some slack because you really, like, you know, you have no idea what someone else is going through. You don't know someone else's story. And even sometimes when you think you do, so much stuff happens behind closed doors or when people are away or in their own space. So like after school, that's when we became closer. And I don't even know how that happened. I think it just happened organically, but like...
Yeah, I can't even remember a time where it was like one of us reached out.
No, me either. It was just kind of like... There was just like two separate things. It was like school, and then it's like us being good friends out of school. Like, I don't even know what happened. But
couldn't tell you.
Anyway, love that for me.
Yeah.
And then some of you may remember the Inspire project, and that is like, yeah, I think that just shows our friendship. Like, you're like the go-to, like positive vibes, good energy. Like, we have the same ideas about, I guess, what we want to be putting out there and the way that we want to help people, and that just kind of happened organically too. I think I hadn't long started the Inspire project, and then because we were hanging out, I was like, you would be perfect, let's like do it together. And that was such a fun slice of time.
That was fun.
Look at us go. We were like 19 or 18?
18.
Oh my god.
Maybe even 18.
I don't know.
We were babies.
We were very young.
Absolute babies. And it was literally like, I think because once I finished that school period, like as soon as I finished high school, like probably graduation day, I literally evolved. It's crazy how much happens like when you take yourself out of a certain environment, and then you can like design your life around like what you want it to look like. And I think that's when I really changed, and I really got into like personal development and all of that kind of stuff. It was like I just had to be out of that environment, because in that environment you just like you said, like blinkers on. It's just have to survive. Just one step at a time to get through the day. And then when that was gone, I was like, I can be whoever I want to be. Like, I don't have to see these people. I don't have to live with these people. I don't have to, you know what I mean? So, and I think that's when you were like, oh, Sarah's not like a savage beast. Like, she's actually into like... She's
actually awesome.
This stuff. Yeah, literally. So that's why I sort of said before, like, if you knew me in high school, you don't know me now, because there has been so much growth and so much hard work that has gone into pulling myself out of what was high school. And I even remember, like, I had to drive back into where our school was for something, and it was like the anxiety, like my heart was racing. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So it really proves that environment is just
everything.
Crucial.
And that's something that we will talk about in like future episodes and stuff, going into a little bit more depth about removing yourself from toxic environments and stepping into your authenticity, because you can't grow and evolve when you're trapped in negative spaces or places that don't serve you, or around people that don't serve you. Like, you can't expect all these big goals to happen if you're going to limit yourself in these environments. So that is to come. I feel like that was such a good lead into the central topic of today's episode, which is all about mental health. And I feel like you've really started us on such a good foot, talking about the effects of mental health and how your story developed, and kind of why it is so important to you. My story was pretty similar. There's a lot of similarities. Obviously, everyone, like, they're different stories, but in high school is probably where it all started for me. And I feel like we had very different high school experiences. Like Sarah was a boarder and I was a day girl, and I feel like that in itself like is two separate high school experiences. Like, you can go to the same school, but like boarders and day girls, like you have a totally different perception of school, and you see school as a totally different thing. Like, you guys literally live there. Like, that is your home.
Like, you kind of can't escape.
So
it's like, if you have a shitty day at school, it's not like I can go home to, like, you know, my room, or like, you know, to my parents or whatever. It's like, I'm stuck here. For 3 years straight. Like,
literally.
There's no escape. And I think that's,
that in itself would trigger so much mental health, I think. Like, you know, that feeling of trapped, you would become trapped in your own mind and your own thoughts, because you're not escaping that kind of thing. And I was obviously very lucky that I could escape that. Like, if I had a horrible day at school, I got to go home, I got to, you know, come out and come back into that environment. And I think probably more so for me, that's my high school experience is when my anxiety started, and I will also go into depth about this a little bit more in another episode, but basically I think there's a lot of factors that I think triggered my anxiety, but particularly our high school, and not necessarily blaming the school, but just the type of school that it is. I feel like some people do really, really well in that environment, and some people really don't thrive in that environment. And I was one of those people that I feel like should have thrived in that environment, but I didn't. And I always felt a little bit like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not excelling in things like other people are? Or for example, my family, like my sister went to the same high school, so she kind of set the bar up here. And then when I got there, and I was like, oh, I'm not having the same experience. Like, we're obviously very different people, but yeah, school was like a pressure cooker. And I do not do well under pressure. Like, do not put this girl under extra pressure because I will crumble. Like, I just don't do well in stressful environments. And I've realized that now as I've gotten older that, like, I probably would have performed a lot better in high school if I wasn't in that pressure cooker environment. Like, even little things like exam anxiety, like that's something I'll talk about later, but I got massive exam anxiety, and that's partly where my anxiety started, I think, because it was like almost like a performance thing. Like I felt like I needed to achieve a certain level, or people were watching me, or there was just constant comparison to everyone. Like, the school was so good at making you feel like you had to compete with everyone. And I'm also not a competitive person. So like there was like obviously the kids that were really, really smart, top of our grade. And then I feel like I was like the smart kid that like would have occasional bursts of getting really good grades, but I was kind of on the outer because I was struggling. And seeing, like, being older and looking back, I feel like I probably could have done better in certain situations if I knew that that was anxiety kind of thing. Because I feel like we didn't really, it wasn't a very common thing. Like, it was, mental health was still a topic that was evolving. And
I feel like when we were in high school, it was very much like, oh, you either have like depression and like you need to go to the hospital, like kind of terrible depression, or like that wasn't very much like. And I feel like that was the time when all of those kind of shows were coming out. Like, I don't know if you watch Skins or like American Horror Story, where it's where that sort of mental health like started to kind of get talked about. And what you were referring to like in the pressure cooker environment, it's very much like, I don't know if it was the school in particular or if it was just, I don't know, I'm not blaming anyone for anything. But it was very much like, if you weren't super smart or you weren't like an athlete, they didn't care about you. And that's sort of where I was like, well, I don't care. Like, why do I?
If you don't care, then why do I care?
Exactly right. And then it was also to that pressure of, what's the test we do?
Like QCS?
QCS test. And it was like, your grade matters to everyone's grade. So it's like, if you do bad, everyone does bad. It was
you drag everyone down with you. It's like, whoa.
So I was like, well, everyone's just going to bring me up, so whatever. So, but I feel like, I don't know, the schooling system is a whole nother can of worms. I can carry on about it forever.
Me too. And I'm studying teaching. That is not good.
Terrible. No. But no, exactly. And I feel like if you're in high school or if you're in, grade 12, especially, I know it's different now with ATAR, it means nothing. And I don't know whether that's a good thing to say or a bad thing to say, but it does not determine your life. No. It does not determine your self-worth. It does not determine how intelligent you are.
It does not define you at all.
Whatsoever. That score you get on your test or on your ATAR or on your biology assignment does not determine shit all.
And that short amount of time that it does somewhat matter. Like, I remember when we all got like our OP results, and it, like, it is a thing for a little while, but it fizzles out so quickly, and nobody literally cares like a week or two later. And it's like, the only person that knows or really cares is you. And then after that, it's like, it's not a thing that people ask. Like, do you know what I mean? I remember leaving school and being like, oh, imagine if I got a bad OP and everyone's going to be asking me about it for the rest of my life. They'll be like, what OP did you get? Nobody literally cared even like 3 weeks later.
No.
Like, and the people that asked me were probably my family when it happened.
Yeah.
And probably my closest friends at the time. And that was it. And
Yeah.
then after the immediate, like, their release, nobody cares. And when you get into uni and you get into different degrees, everyone's chopping and changing anyway.
Yeah.
No one's like, you know, there's no judgment whatsoever. It literally does not matter.
No.
And that is something that you probably don't fully understand until you get out of school, because I know like some people would say that when you're in high school and you'd be like, oh, you're just saying that, or like you know, you're just like,
it doesn't matter, this is my whole life ahead of me. Like,
exactly. So I totally understand that, but I think it's also important to remember, like, not everybody thrives in the same environment.
Absolutely.
And I think that was what got me, is that there were students that were thriving, and I was like, good for you, but like, why am I not thriving? And then that's when the comparison comes in, and that's what eats at your anxiety.
It's so much conditioning. School is just conditioning on conditioning on conditioning on conditioning, and it is just, it's detrimental.
Yeah.
It is detrimental.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when we were doing our like prac exams for the QCS tests and for your OP estimates and stuff, I was told by our career guidance counsellor that I needed to get my act together because otherwise I was not going to be successful in life.
Really?
And it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah, what?
Like my OP was fairly good considering like I missed all of my last exams because my appendix is starting to explode. But yeah, she was like, you're not going to be successful in life unless you put your head in. And I was like, watch me now.
Just send her like a bio of what you're doing right now. Just be like, I made it, okay?
Yeah, like just because I don't like, you know, being here does not mean I'm not going to be successful. I'm 16 years old. I wasn't even 17 at the time.
Yeah.
Like, you like it, I'll break.
Yeah. Calm down, sis.
Literally.
But yeah, I could say more, but I won't.
If you want a whole episode on the schooling system or our thoughts, let us know.
Teaching student gives expose to the schooling system.
So, yes, back to you and your anxiety, Georgia.
But basically, that was, where it all started, school, the anxiety. As I got older, your stresses change, and it's a big, like, couple of years of growth, and I feel like that really was a catalyst for making my mental health worse. And there were certain things that happened that triggered my anxiety in different ways. But it wasn't until 2018 when I was out of school that I was like, oh, like, this is actually impacting me a lot. And that's when I went to a psychologist and I found out I had anxiety, and everything kind of made sense after that. I was like, oh, that's why in school this happened, and this is why I wasn't like this or whatever. And then I guess just getting to where I am today, anxiety is not something that you just get rid of or that just goes away.
She sticks around.
She sticks around.
The whole girl
sure.
sticks around.
And it's something that you just learn to manage and get better at dealing with. And I feel like in there you chuck a bit of depression in there, and that's a whole story in itself. That's kind of when I was like, oh, like, you know, this is real kind of thing. Anxiety and depression, whilst they do have commonalities, they're very different when you're going through them. And obviously the depressive is a little bit more low mood, sad, sustained low mood. But that was kind of when it hit me, and that wasn't even that long ago that I was like, whoa, I get it. And after studying, like, I ended up going to uni and studying all about the brain because I thought it was so interesting, and I learned about depression and all that stuff. And then getting, like, having it and experiencing it yourself,
Yeah.
totally different ballpark.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, like I have almost like a newfound appreciation or respect, or I don't even know what it is, empathy for people who go through periods like that and have gone through depression. And yeah, I think that was kind of my aha moment. I think that I was like, this is a real deal. Yeah. And it just kind of all kind of made sense.
So what would you say then, G? Like, you're sort of talking about your anxiety and how that's more of an impact to you, but then you've had those depressive moments and you're like, oh my God, this is so different.
Yeah.
What would you say is something that brings you out of each of those? Because I know they're very different. So what would you say, like, okay, when I'm feeling anxious, like, these are the things that help. When I'm feeling like I'm in that depressive mood, these are the things that help.
Yeah, you are so different. Like, each individual story of anxiety or depression, like, you are so unique. So take what I say with a grain of salt, because everybody's situation is different. But for me, my anxiety, I feel like anxiety is just the one that keeps coming back, and it feels like the most annoying one to fight almost, because it's like, it never fully goes away. So I think it really comes down to getting to know yourself. I feel like when I did the work to understand who I was, it kind of gives you a whole nother level of, like, a whole different toolkit to work with yourself instead of working against yourself. And I think that is what has kind of gotten me to better my situation in terms of my anxiety, is knowing myself and being comfortable with myself. Because for a long time I wasn't. Like, and I feel like when you're learning things about yourself, especially if they're not necessarily positively connotated things, like, oh, I found out I have anxiety, that's not a great thing, isn't it? Like, society makes you feel like, that's a really bad thing. If you're an anxious person, that's not a great thing.
Like, you're terrible, let's make it worse. Like, rather than like, okay, what can we do to support you?
Exactly. And so I think once I did the work to debunk some of those belief systems I had in my head that were geared negatively towards anxiety or depression, but specifically anxiety, that helped me so much, because I knew when you're having these thoughts, like when you're feeling really anxious, you feel a little bit crazy sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
And then other people can potentially make you feel more crazy. So if you don't know yourself and you're not in touch with yourself, I feel like it's a lot easier to almost like dysregulate, and your anxiety becomes far more out of hand.
You fall down the rabbit hole.
Exactly.
You're like, the neighbour's dog looked at me weird, that means my ex-boyfriend hates me and his new girlfriend wants to cut my head off. Like,
exactly. It's just like a flow-on effect. But honestly, that was like the biggest thing that I think that brings me out of my anxious state, is knowing myself and being so sure of myself, and even knowing there's things about myself that I don't necessarily love, but I respect them. That's me. And for a long time I was told, like, oh, this is a bad thing that you do, or, you know, it's not great. Like, if there's a period in my life where I was really anxious socially, and it's like, that's a really bad thing. Like, you know, and other people might make you
you're not going to ever have friends.
Exactly. Or even if you're just surrounded by people that have different views about mental health, which is fine. A lot of people do view mental health differently. But if you're on that journey, I guess, of discovering yourself and becoming more in touch with yourself, but you've got all these like opposing views around you, I feel like that's just not going to end well. And that's what I found. It's kind of like that toxic environment situation. Like, if you're around people that aren't conducive to what you want to believe and you want to do, you're kind of stuck. You know, there's only so much you can do in your own head and in your own space when you're in those environments.
Absolutely.
So sorry, you go.
No, so you said like knowing yourself is like how, like, the biggest thing that helped you so much? How do you get to know yourself?
Yeah.
How do you know yourself? Like, how do you do that?
It's a process, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, it takes time to put in that work. And I think, me included, like, you hear people say, get to know yourself and learn to love yourself and all that stuff. And you kind of just want the instant gratification. You want it to be a quick fix.
Yeah.
And it's not.
No.
And even today, like, I feel a lot better in myself. And I really, like, am in this position where I'm like, I'm so sure of myself and I've done all this work. But I know there's so much work still to do. And I know that in the years to come, I'm probably going to look back at this time and then be like, like, there was so much more to come and there was so much I didn't know then. And that's life.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing that you can do to get to know yourself, or one of the most important things, is reevaluating things and spending that time alone to reroute yourself. Like, there's been periods in my life where I've probably not been the best friend or probably not been the best daughter or whatever, because I've gone into my shell to do the work. And some of that stuff you have to do on your own, kind of thing.
And it's the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not comfortable. It's not, I'm getting to know myself, like, love me, slay.
I know.
It's uncomfortable and it hurts and it's hard and it's scary, but so necessary.
100%.
So necessary. And I think too, that was such a light bulb moment for me in my journey, especially, going through high school. And then, I had a boyfriend before I went to my new school. Yeah. And then we were together for such a long time, and it was the most toxic relationship. At the time, I didn't know that. Yeah. I was like, I'm obviously not good enough, or I'm obviously, not this and not that. And literally bowed down to just be the best that I could be. Yeah. But I wasn't being the best I could be for me. Yeah. And the light bulb moment's really like, it's up to me. Yeah. And that is something that was told to me too when I was really struggling with my eating disorder. It was very much like, well, it's up to you. You can continue like this, or you can change it. Yeah. It's up to you. And when you realize and you get that light bulb of like, oh shit, like, I'm literally choosing to be in this position. Yeah. And like, that might sound really harsh if you are going through mental health troubles at the moment, but it's literally, you are choosing that because it's comfortable to you. Yeah. And 100%. It's like, it's not comfortable that it's good. Like, sometimes being comfortable is not bad. It's called being painful. Yeah. Being in your comfort zone is a pain zone. Yeah. Because you're not willing to move on. You're willing to just stay where you are because that's all that you know. Yeah. And growth is hard, and, trying to be positive is hard. But it's literally, it's up to you. That's all. That is my biggest advice. It is up to you. Exactly. And it's whether if you choose this path, and you want to stay and struggle and, whatever, that's up to you. But if you want to grow and move on and create something better for yourself, then go and do that. Like, there's literally two options. And I know that probably sounds harsh maybe from someone who studied psychology and you're like, but people like, but if you want the hard truth, it's up to you. Yeah. And you're choosing that, and it's your choice. Yeah. Whether that's, something good or bad to you, and if you're triggered by it, there's a reason you're triggered by it. Yeah. Is because you know that you're choosing that. Yeah. And that was something that was come up to me. I see a beautiful kinesthesiologist. I found she's been more helpful than ever. So she's literally changed my life. Yeah. She has changed my life. And she said, it is, like she said, pretty well the same thing. It's up to you.
I was just going to say what you were just saying before that, like, you have to do the work. You are the one that gets you out of situations. And if you want to be in a different situation, you're the one that needs to change that. Yeah. And that was exactly what got me out of my most recent hole is, like, I spent my pity party time being sad and not doing anything.
Feel the feelings. That's fine. Feel the feelings. That's important. Yeah. But yeah, it's up to you
Yeah.
to drag out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you realise, like I had the moment where I was like, nobody's coming to save me. Like it's literally just me.
Yeah.
So if I don't want to feel like this anymore, I have to do something about it. I'm the only one that can do something about it. Like, you know, some magical person isn't just going to come to my door and be like, I've got you.
Yeah.
We're saving everything here. Like, let's reroute.
Yeah, the best thing's like to drag it back to, I always drag this example back to health and fitness. So it's like, yeah, you could see and talk to every coach under the sun.
Yeah.
You can see a doctor, you can see your bariatric surgeon, you can talk to so many people.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to get up and you're not going to train and you're not going to eat well, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So it's get up and do the work if you want the change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. If you are listening to this and going through one of those periods right now, you know, it's totally okay to feel those feels and go through the motions, but know that when you regain some of that energy, it's go time. It's you. You know, don't waste time waiting for someone to come and save you, because no one's coming to save you. And that is another harsh truth.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, isn't something you necessarily want to hear, but that is essentially the kick up the butt that you need, to go and like change your life, go and do all the things that you want to do. You've got one shot, make it worth it.
One opportunity.
Mom's
Mum's spaghetti.
breaks into slow. I guess then kind of bringing it back to your situation and your experiences with mental health. What kind of advice would you give based on your experiences with mental health, and what's kind of helped you, and what advice would you give to someone else?
I might change that and be like, what advice would I give to little Sarah? Because I feel like there's not so much like attached to that. Someone's looking at like Sarah's head. So what would I tell little Cezzy? I would tell little Cezzy that it's okay to feel the way that you feel. You know, it's validated. You feel that way for a reason. That is okay. I'd also tell little Cezzy it's not the end of the world. She's tiny little Cezzy. Like, there's so much that's going to come to her, and she just needs to be strong and keep going. And I'm glad that she did keep going. Self-love is the biggest thing that she needs to work on. You know, and that's not all doing your vision boards and your affirmations and the fun stuff. It's the hard work, it's the shadow work, it's digging deep and being like, asking the whys. Be like, oh, I don't look good in these shorts today. Why? Oh, because I feel this way. Why? And it's really digging deep and then being like, oh, that's not really a problem at all. It's all in your head. Self-love is definitely, this is to anyone else out there, it's not the fun stuff. Sometimes it is. Sometimes, you know, growing and, you know, manifesting is all fun, you know, get to create.
It is a bit exciting.
And write in my journal and, you know, romanticize my life. But, you know, you can't have the full benefits of that without doing the hard shit first.
100%.
And it's hard. It's really hard. I'd also tell Cezzy, little Cezzy, to keep going with the gym. The gym's your safe place for a reason. Find that safe place. To anybody out there, find your safe place no matter where it is, and just keep doing it. The gym was such an outlet for me. I know it might sound a little bit contradictory by having an eating disorder and the gym's your safe place and telling me to keep going. But it's that, you know, it gives you that sense that you're working on yourself too. You know, it's rewarding in a good way. And, you know, you get out of your head for an hour. It's like, it's my me time.
So good.
And then finally creating a support network of people that uplift you and call you out on your bullshit. Like, it's so cliche. So cliche. But I have a tight group of friends and they all go, Sarah, you're being a dick. You tell me. Georgia tells me all the time. Like, Sarah.
All the time.
You're being a dickhead.
Just every day. I'm like, God, Sarah.
No. But, like, you know, if I reached out to you and was like, what do you think of this? And you're like, you're an idiot. Or you'd be get people that tell you the truth. Get people who want to see you do well. Don't, you know, surround yourself with the people that tell you what you want to hear. Because you haven't done the work yet.
Life's too short for...
Oh, we don't have time for energy vampires. We do not have time.
No.
And you know, the universe can't open up to you if you don't have that energy around you.
Yeah.
We'll go into manifesting in another episode. But
that's another topic.
That's another topic. But yeah, I know it sounds cliche, and I know every single personal development thing under the sun says you're the first 5 people you surround yourself with. But it is so true. Your environment and 100%. The people you surround yourself with and your support network are crucial to where you are going to end up. But if I had to sum it up in like a paragraph rather than like tips, I'd be like, you know, you've heard it a million times, but be your authentic self. Follow what feels right to you and cut off whatever doesn't. If it doesn't feel right to you, snip, snip, cut it. You have that power.
Yeah.
You have that power to get rid of whatever you don't want in your life. Don't you dare, like, and I mean this fully, don't you dare let anyone dull your shine. You're made to shine for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You will love yourself eventually.
Yes.
It takes time. It takes what feels like forever.
Yeah.
But you will get there.
Yeah.
You will love yourself, little Ceci, so just keep going.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's so wholesome. I love that.
What would you tell little G?
Little G?
Little G was a little sassy dance, let me tell you. I've seen videos and photos. She was a sassy queen.
She has really evolved from the state of sass. There's been a lot of eras of G. But 100%, and this is like still true today, like I am drilling this into myself now, you are more capable and stronger than you think.
Yeah.
Always in any
You set the
situation.
limit.
Exactly.
You set the limit.
Exactly. And I think, you know, fear gets in the way a lot of the time, but there is nothing that you can't handle. 100%. And I really back that, and I wish my younger self could hear that and be less scared of doing whatever it is that she wanted to do because she didn't think she could. Yeah. You always can. I guess similar to you is staying authentic to yourself and not worrying about what other people think. That was my, like, when I think of my childhood, I think of worrying about what people think because I used to be a bit of a worrywart. And
what's new?
Still me today. But always just thinking like of a million different people's judgments of me.
Yeah.
Whatever I was thinking about doing, whatever I was gonna do, I was like, oh, will this person think of me? And then, you know, and it's like, what will you think of you?
Yeah.
That is the only opinion that matters. If you love what you're doing, if you're, you know, cheering yourself on, go for it.
Yeah.
Nobody else matters. As long as you're not hurting anyone else, go for it. It's just you. We've like kind of delved into this a little bit in some of my psychology sessions, but I think it was growing up, like feeling like I needed to prove myself.
Yeah.
And so I felt like in every situation that I was in, I constantly had to prove myself. And
like a younger sibling kind of thing.
Yeah, like second sibling syndrome almost, but like I never really felt like I was good enough in certain situations because I don't think I ever accepted that I was my own person. Okay. That I was different and that being different's okay. Yeah. Like I was scared of being different for a long time and like growing up, all I wanted to be like was my sister. Yeah. And like, even when I talk about that now, my sister's like, oh, so silly. But that literally was in my mind. Like I was like, if you're not your sister, you're not doing well. Which is so silly. Because
so strange.
Because like there's so many like good qualities about me that I would like diminish because I was like, oh, I want to be someone else. Why do you want to be someone else? Literally. Be you. Like, you know, and I did spend a lot of time trying to be other people and even in like school, like friendship groups and cliques and stuff. Like I was trying so hard to be like other people because I didn't think me was enough. Yeah. And that's something that I've learned as I've gotten older that like Georgia is enough and I've, you know, you back yourself and you're like, you know what, I'm comfortable if this is, you know, how I feel about a certain situation, I'm okay with that. Yeah. Or if this is how I act in certain situations, I'm comfortable enough knowing that that's just me. Yeah. And yeah, for a long time I wasn't comfortable with myself. So yeah, it's very interesting, like thinking back and being like, wow, I was so fixated on being other people that I spent so much of my childhood not allowing
Imagine
myself.
if you were just yourself.
I know. And possibly even then, I would have had more authentic friends, and, you know, you would have had different experiences that maybe would have facilitated me in other ways. But, like, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
but
you're only human.
Yeah. But it's just kind of like, food for thought. Like, don't waste time being someone else. Be yourself. You is enough.
Literally, thank you. Give me that tattooed on me.
Yeah. In cursive writing.
Yes, please.
And to sum it all up.
In summary, in conclusion,
just allow things to happen the way they're going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
An anxiety thing, I think you want to control everything, and I love having control of things, and that's something I've had to learn to let go of, is that there's so much of life you cannot control. And sometimes I fixate on the little things that I can control, like for example, like one of the things I talked about with my psychologist was like cleaning. I can control how clean my environment is, so I used to
feel like with a
it's like, literally I had like this period in my life where I was just like, I still am a bit of a clean freak, but I was so fixated on cleaning everything. If there was a speck of dust in my room, it was like, we need to do a house reset.
The whole house, everyone out.
And that was purely because I was struggling to be not in control of things. But yeah, life just happens. Let it happen. Let people come in and out of your life. Let experiences come as they are. And try not to question it too much. And just like, if you are going to question it, you know, why, instead of fixating on why things have happened a certain way, what is it allowing me to do? You know, this job,
is it giving you an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to change?
And be better. Exactly right. And yeah, just letting go a little bit more of like the control and just letting things happen. Everything.
Let it go.
So you will have that stuck in your head for the rest of the day. But yeah, just just
That's it. That's all, folks.
That's all from me. Just But yes, everything happens for a reason. Let it happen the way it's meant to unfold, and just take experiences as they are. Enjoy things while they're here. A lot of things don't last forever, so just go soak it up. If
nothing lasts forever,
go and just, you know, enjoy every moment, and don't take things too seriously. That's probably a big one for younger me. Is to just chill out a little bit. It's okay. Be a little bit less stressy. And have some fun.
I feel like we're opposites, Drew. Like, talking about it, you're like, I'm so stressed about my exams. Like, I need to this. I need to do this. I need to do really well. And I'm like, oh, well, if you don't care, I don't care.
I'm out.
Whatever. I'm mentally checked out. See you next week.
But I think that's also a good, like, representation of how different it can, like, mental health can come up for different people. Like, you know, like, we had totally different experiences, but in the same way we have a lot of similarities in that experience.
And strange because we're both fire signs. And you're an Aries, so that's why you're like, I need to
be better.
And I'm like, whatever. Chill, Leo, me. It's not chill. But yeah, that's funny. Actually. Funny observation.
I know. We were like having epiphanies while we were talking about it. And to sum up and finish off this episode, I thought we'd just like bring it back, the lightheartedness.
Reel it in.
We both love quotes. We're quote girlies. Is that you reeling it in?
Which I do it to them.
Sarah's just got her imaginary fishing rod out.
Got you.
So we are quote girlies. I love a good quote.
Love a good quote.
There's not much a good quote can't fix, to be fair.
Like, my meant to be. Let's just tape it up with a quote. She's a good band-aid.
You're having a rough day, go on Pinterest and go into your quotes folder.
Yeah.
You'll feel a little bit better, I promise.
We all have one. We all have
Don't
one.
lie.
You've got one.
Even if it's on private, you've still got one.
They're all on private.
Mine are out in the open. If you
Yeah,
want to check it out. But do you want to kick us off with your favourite quotes? What are like your go-tos?
Okay. What are you on? And then we'll get started.
Sarah just needs a quick nap before we continue on.
So, I feel like it's starting off with a savage brutalness.
Yeah. Go for it.
Be proud but never satisfied. So
Yeah.
it's like be proud of how far you come, but know you have so far to go.
Yes.
So it's like, yes, let's pop a bottle of bubbles and
Yeah.
woohoo.
So
Alright,
it
on
wins.
to the next, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get comfortable.
Yeah. 100%. Don't settle.
No.
Keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
We've just got work to do. There's always work to do.
That's nice. Then bring up your folder, will you, G?
Yeah.
G's got 50,000 to share with you today. We're going to be here for another little while.
We're going to have another 20 minutes. So you might want to get comfortable.
Yeah. Get your notepads out, ladies and gents.
And so, yeah, this was actually a little bit hard. I thought it would be fun. And then I, overthinking went through my folder and I was like, but they're all good.
We have so many episodes to find
I
your favourite one, you know?
I know. Maybe I'll make this like a theme and just keep coming
at the
back.
end.
So I can slowly dish out all of my
All of
favourite
your quotes. Now you have to just choose one.
I know. Well, I'm going to choose 3 or 4. One is just too hard. So let me make this as quick as possible. But I really like this one, and this is what actually triggered me thinking about asking you about this. But I saw this quote and it said, reminder that you are under no obligation to be the same person you were a year ago, a month ago, or even 15 minutes ago. You have the right to grow and change. No apologies. And I love that.
Slay.
Just a slay.
Big slay.
I'm going to put that in the sound effect for my future episodes.
Okay, please.
So just like, this is a slay.
It's a big sassy slay.
But honestly, I love that because 100%, even the person you were 5 minutes ago, if you did something and you're like, whoa, that's not me, reroute. Let's go.
Done.
Exactly.
Easy.
And then just a few little lighthearted ones to sprinkle around the place after that. If you weren't ready, you wouldn't have the opportunity. I really like that because that kind of ties into a lot of what we've spoken about just, if you weren't ready for things, if things weren't meant to be a certain way, it wouldn't have happened like that. Mm-hmm. So, take the opportunity.
Yes.
I also really love this one. I saw it maybe 4 months ago when I was in a bit of a pit. Being alive is the special occasion.
Yes, a bad day is still a luxury.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're above ground. You got to experience today. And I think romanticizing life and regularly, that being, your normal routine is such a blessing.
Yeah.
Do it. Going for a walk, getting a coffee, going to the gym. I've started now noticing that I think before I go to the gym, wow, just automatically, how lucky am I get to go to the gym? Sarah's fighting the yawn so hard. This part, she's like, no, I do not care.
I do care.
No, I'm kidding. She works really hard. And she gets up at 3 a.m. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And then the last one I'll love you and leave you with. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment it grows, not the flower.
Slay.
That is a sassy slay. So I hope that just sprinkled a little bit of, motivation or a little bit of positivity into your day whenever you're listening to this. And if you're listening to this at the start of your day, I hope you have a magical day.
Yeah.
And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And Ceci, I hope you enjoyed coming along for this episode.
So fun.
I'm getting a really beautiful shadow here.
Yeah, no, the natural golden hour is just
it's reflecting over me.
You're quick.
quick, eh?
Golden hour slay. Wow. Why is it my phone's broken?
Is that good?
God, now it's late. It does actually vibe. Post properly.
Oh, well, I got that once wrong.
She's gonna go my April dump doll.
I am gonna wrap this episode up. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you found it insightful and got something out of it. Massive thank you to Sezzy for just yawning again. We really need to make this quick. She's like, no.
Wait until you're like on the spiel.
It's so funny because she's trying to hide. It's like over her mouth, but like she's just stretching or something. It's okay, no judgment here, sis. But yeah, just a massive thank you for sitting down and filming this episode with me, recording this episode. I hope you come back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a vibe.
Yeah.
And I feel like we just bounce off each other, so I'm so excited for other episodes because I've thought of a few that I'd love to rope you into if you're interested.
Slay.
And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Again, I will talk to you in the next episode very soon. And remember, you are appreciated, you are capable, and you are loved. Bye for now. Woo!